What's up, everybody? This is going to be the next episode, prepping the car for sick week. Today what we're going to do is something I kind of don't want to do, but I feel like for sake of safety I need to. You can see the trunk over there. That was the one that I originally was running on the car. It's got a Scott Rod wing on it. I ended up buying a second trunk because I wanted to do the wingless look. If you look at this one, when I bought the car, it had some random holes in it. Not quite sure what they're from, but it always bothered me. So I had my buddy Kevin. He was nice enough to paint this for me. Turned out super nice, looks really good. But unfortunately, I do a lot more racing than I do street driving in the car. And the car just felt loose a couple times. So unfortunately the wings got to go back. The street car look was cool, but ultimately safety's kind of a priority here. So I'm gonna walk through removing the spoiler and transferring it to the new trunk. Hopefully we do this without issue. I'm kind of scared because normally you do it, you drill the holes on the wing last. So we'll see. All right, first thing we're gonna do is cover the back lip with some tape. This is to prevent from scratches and just overall marring up the trunk while trying to test fit and everything else. So if you don't care about your paint, obviously you don't need to do this, but I do. Alright, so I got the blue painter's tape on there. I threw another strip just towards the top of this red other tape that I got, just to prevent from scratching. The pedestals are going to mount somewhere on here. I'm going to have to line it up, make sure everything looks okay, and then, obviously transfer it. So I got a couple tricks here to try to get everything lined up the same way that it is now. What I'm going to do on this trunk is I'm going to mark this distance from here to the edge. Same with this side from here to the edge. That'll make sure, obviously, that the trunk will line up the same on both. If you're not familiar, underneath there's some pedestals, which we will deal with in a little bit. But right now we're going to mark the top here. All right, so you can see there's a visual reference now on the edges. So that'll help us greatly in making sure we line this up. I'm going to do some other measurements, but that'll be the quick and dirty way to make sure we're lined up. All right, so next thing that I got to do is actually take the wing off. Back when I was first doing this, or I guess when I bought the car, it had pop rivets on there. They didn't work very well, so I ended up switching to a nut cert, which you can see on these guys. So on the new trunk, we're going to do the nut cert setup. So now we're going to remove the wing. All I'm doing here is drilling out the rivets and then bolting the ones that I have the nut cert on. Alright, now that we got the wing off, it's time to get it on the car. Alright, so I don't really know what I'm going to do, but I'm going to get the trunk open, then I'm going to try to clamp the spoiler to the lip of the trunk, kind of line it up. Since I'm kind of a hillbilly and doing this by myself, I'm going to be clamping the wing on with some wood clamps and some other metal ones that I have. So there's probably better ways to do this. Second set of hands would be great, but I'm ignorant and like to do things myself. Alright, so you can see I just used some basic Harbor Freight clamps, nothing crazy here, just to get it on. But what we're going to look at now is these tape marks that I put on earlier. If you remember, this lined up with this edge of the trunk. So this one seems pretty close. Go look on the other side. Pretty darn close, so I might have to shift it just slightly this way. Once we get it kind of in line, the next thing we're going to have to look at is the actual lip of the trunk to the spoiler, but we'll go and do that after we get the trunk lined up. Alright, so I measured it and both ends have 1 3/8, so I know that the wing is even. Trying to get it lined up fairly close on the deck lid. Might take a little bit of adjustment there. But now all I got to do is basically take a permanent marker, mark these holes, and then drill them out. So I'll put a link in the description below, but I got this cool kit off Amazon. Instead of doing rivets like the spoiler was originally installed, I bought this. It's called a thread Cert Kit. So I'll actually use bolts, and then I will be able to put these basically like a rivet, but they go in there, and then the bolts screw in. So we'll walk through that. All right, so just to walk you guys through this real quick. So this is a M5 nut cert. Obviously, I'm going to be using the M5 bolts. Just to show how the tool works, though, if you've never seen one of these before. Basically, it's like a rivet gun. You have a threaded feature that the nut cert bolts into like that. And then if you look, so when you squeeze it, if you focus on the tip of that there, so as I'm pulling the trigger, you'll see it mushroom out. So then that will obviously get wedged on your metal, and then there's a little spinny part on the back here. You're able to actually unscrew that portion. So then essentially this will be what's stuck in your sheet metal, and then now you actually have a threaded portion. Unlike a rivet that you'd have to drill out and then have to obviously replace each time you need to remove or change something. Alright, so I got the outer 2 sets of bolts in. Obviously I kind of skipped some steps because I'm doing this by myself and filming by myself, so not really the easiest, but you can see those 2 are done on there. I was basically just kind of eyeballing it, trying to get things, you know, pretty smooth and level there. We'll close the trunk here for the first time to see how it all lines up. Overall, looks like it's fitting pretty good. I still have to mount these middle ones. That's going to obviously determine if it's going to, you know, how close to the body it'll be. Repeat those steps. But overall, so far I'm pretty pleased. It's been a while, all season, this wing's not been on. Alright, so I got all 8 nut certs installed. Just to give you, I guess, a glance of what they look like before I put the spoiler on, figure I'd take a quick video here. You can see them. Basically, they go in blind and sheet metal, get clamped in there, and then obviously they're threaded, so you can put your bolts in there. So it's nice because now the wing's detachable. If I ever needed to service it or do anything, you know, I don't have to drill them out or anything crazy. Alright, so we're all done. You can see that we got all the bolts on the deck lid. Like I said, I prefer using these versus rivets because obviously things can be removed now. We'll give it a trunk and close here. Fits nice. Obviously the gaps are all even. Turned out good. It's been a year since I've had the wing on. Obviously I had it on the other trunk. The wingless look was cool. You know, when you start going faster and faster, I feel like stability is a little bit better here. So I appreciate you watching, and hopefully you learned something. If I was to do this from scratch, I think the proper way is actually to mount the support bars and then put the wing on top, and then you drill the holes based on where the supports are, and to transfer it to this trunk here. I would definitely recommend following the installation manual if you're buying one new. This obviously would apply to anybody that buys one secondhand, or if you want to do it this way. I mean, I found it pretty easy. I was able to get it done in a weeknight here, and overall I think it looks pretty good. So I appreciate you watching. Thanks. 6 summer's going to come pretty quick, and I got to get the cage recerted, do a bunch of other stuff like make a trailer hitch mount, power inverter, a bunch of other stuff to the car. So if you want to follow, make sure to subscribe, and if you got any questions, make sure to ask. Thanks.